Hello and good afternoon everybody, and welcome back once again for another awesome update of DIY investing. Since we just covered our Bitcoin update and I gave you guys my thoughts and perspective with that, today we're going to be diving in and we're going to be taking a look at the altcoin and Bitcoin dominance of the whole market. We're also going to be diving in and taking a look at 3 altcoin Bitcoin pairs that I am very excited to start margin trading. Now, if you guys weren't around for the last cycle, one of the most profitable ways in which I made money was I was margin trading on Poloniex. This was back in 2016, right before 2017, when the whole altcoin market and the Bitcoin market really exploded, and I was able to make a lot of money margin trading in those times. And so today we're going to be diving in, showing you guys 3 Bitcoin pairs that I expect to perform very well in this next cycle, and there's 3 pairs that you guys have the opportunity to make a lot of money on if you know how to trade through margin. If you guys are new and just finding this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any more awesome videos like the one provided for you here. Now, if you're somebody that wants your own analysis to be critiqued, whether it's asking me questions, talking about technical analysis with other people, or whatever it might be, just sharing your own opinions and thoughts, make sure you hit the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. Alright guys, we got a lot to cover today, so let's jump right into it. Okay guys, so to start off this video, I figured that we would go ahead and take a look at the Bitcoin dominance. This is a weekly scale. It's also on the log chart. Now, what I'm noticing, guys, is roughly the same thing that we've been watching out for. I get on these videos, and because of my perspective, it being a little bit bigger time frames, a lot of the times my trading plan can kind of stay the same. And so sometimes it seems as if I'm beating the dead horse by me explaining what it is that I'm doing. But I've honestly found that the more boring that your trading plan is, the less that you have to look at it. I really rarely look at any of this stuff. I mean, I look at it every single day before I update you guys, before I make my videos and whatnot. But for the most part, I don't need to sit here at my computer all day long. I don't need to pay attention to it. I can check it in the mornings, I can check it at night when I got a little free time, and then I can kind of just know what the market's doing. And so this is why I like to trade bigger time frames. It helps me to kind of just know and stay level-headed in the wake of all the chaotic nature of crypto. But really, guys, I'm watching for a couple things. Now, I mean, we've had this trend line that we've been riding on for the entirety of Bitcoin's impulse, and even before then, I mean, since January of 2018, ever since the bear market started, Bitcoin's technically been trending up on the dominance. Now, overall, we're still in an established downtrend. I don't think that there's any reason why we should think that Bitcoin's just going to go back to, you know, this 80-90% Bitcoin dominance, because it's not likely. We had been in an established downtrend for, you know, since 2013, and then we didn't really break out of that and make a new low until that 2017 altcoin rally. And so really, guys, all I'm seeing right now is just the same trend. Even though it's a little different from back here's consolidation, this move is still in a downtrend. We're still maintaining lows below this descending resistance with a lot of weakness showing right now. Now, if we dive into this, guys, we're going to be able to see a lot of weakness, in my opinion. So let's take it to a daily time frame. Since this breakout that we saw right here in between the 4-wave retrace and then we broke out here, ever since that point, we've made lower highs on the RSI. Higher highs in price, and the momentum on the RSI has shown exhaustion from the buyers. And so for that, I've always been really skeptical about this price action that we've been seeing up here. And now it's looking even worse as we've now made 2 successful lower lows, as seen right here with this sell-off. And now it looks as if we dive in a little bit closer, you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. We had a lower low here, we had a lower low here, rejections, lower highs each time. And now right here, we're kind of consolidating on support. This looks like a little bit of a bullish retest at resistance before we would fall once more lower, which would take us back here at about 66%. Now, realistically, guys, if we sell through this one right here, your next real target's probably going to be down here at about 64. This is when I would expect a bigger drop in that dominance, because right now we've been consolidating, we've been going higher and higher, and now we're trending outside of that. We've made 2 successful lower lows, which shows that the trend has changed, in my opinion. Now, we could see some freak accident where we bounce up once again from here, but I don't find that is likely or my probable scenario by any means. And you guys are going to know exactly what I mean if we drop it to a weekly. and we take a look at that same sort of resistance. Now, keep in mind, guys, we had been trending up on the RSI on the weekly time frame until right here. Now, right here, we had 3 successful higher highs in price, and we had, on the weekly, we made a lower low on the RSI with 3 higher highs in price. Now, on the weekly, that's your most definitive confirmation that you're going to get. The weekly has some of the best congruent data that we have. And so the fact that we have made a lower low on the shorter time frames, on the daily time frames, we are making lower lows. The RSI exhaustion has shown exhaustion for a long time now, a very long period of time, whether it's on the daily, 3-day, or the weekly. We all show weakness in all of those areas. And so the fact that we are so close to this descending resistance, whether we make one more leg up, it really doesn't even matter, guys. I'm not expecting it. I would assume just the way that this market is consolidating, it shows a lot more weakness. So that's what I'm watching out for with the Bitcoin dominance as stands right now. Next, we're going to take a look at the inverted scale, which is going to be the altcoin market cap dominance. Now, this tells a little bit of a different story. Now, keep in mind, guys, this is going to be a little bit more volatile. You can draw trend lines so many different ways. And that's really the beauty of trend lines, and it's also the weakness of trend lines in the same sense. I don't generally like to trade with trend lines specifically really that much. They do provide a time and a place, but as is any indicator that you're going to use, whether it's an indicator, whether it's, technical analysis instruments that you're using to help further your understanding of the market, it doesn't really matter. But what I can say, guys, is that all of these are combined to implement into your tool bag so that you have a full range of what it is you're doing with your technical analysis, so that you have a total understanding of the market. Now, for here, we are drawing a trend line so I can fit the bias of this. Now, what we've seen here is prices have consolidated on this trend line since we have been around with the altcoins. Now, we have made some stabs below this. Previous price action has momentarily broke below this trend line, and so that's something we could see one more time here. I'm not writing that out, as you guys shouldn't be either, but I just want to point this out, guys, the fact that when we hit these areas of oversold, whether it's on the bottom of the trend line or whether it's Bitcoin dominance testing resistance, we can see that during these areas of high demand, we get reactions. With the Bitcoin dominance, it's reactions on the downside. With the altcoins, it's reactions to the upside. And so every time we hit this trend line, we get a sizable bounce back up. And we're now back in range of this trend line. Now, I say range because no line is going to be exactly perfect, and I want you guys to pay attention for that. That's why I don't really like trend lines all that much, is because generally speaking, whether I'm trading horizontal support and resistance or diagonal support and resistance with trend lines, you follow, and price follows, I should say, inside of these zones. So even though I have one line, you could draw multiple lines inside of this zone, and then you could say something like this, and then you could label these two horizontal or diagonal support and resistance zones as a zone. And so that's what I would watch out for, guys. The fact that we are back within this zone, whether we make one more little low back down or whether this is the absolute bottom, it really doesn't matter. But what we are seeing, we are back at an area that has produced high demand in times past. Because it's produced it once, twice, 3, 4, 5, and now we're back down for a 6th time. I think that you can bet a little bit more confidence inside of your trading plan that this is going to continue to play out. And so this is what I wanted to share with you guys. I wanted to quickly touch up on the Bitcoin dominance, the altcoin dominance, show the correlations between them. As of right now, both of them are looking good. Bitcoin dominance is not looking good, but it's looking good for people that are holding alts, I should say. We are back at this descending resistance that has held us since the inception of altcoins. We're showing a lot of short-term weakness through price action as well as momentum indicators. And so in my opinion, guys, we are very, very close to experiencing our first major sell-off inside of the dominance. Now with this dominance, I think that we're just going to be selling off until we come back down to retest this trend line, which had held us since 2018, the very start of 2018. And so I'm going to be watching for our reaction off of there. I think that once we come back down and hit this trend line, that's going to be your cue to probably take some of your altcoin profits after the initial breakout that we would experience with the topping of the Bitcoin dominance. So these are all just things to pay attention to, keep note of in your own personal trading plans, or I do know that a lot of you guys just watch me and do enjoy to hear my perspective on things. Now, whatever you guys decide to do with this analysis, just remember, at the end of the day, stick to your own personal analysis. That's going to be the best bet. You can see what I'm doing, but always remember that mine is only my own personal analysis and opinion. Make sure you guys do whatever you're going to do with your own analysis and make sure that you're trading specifically your own plans. So with all that being said, guys, let's jump into the 3 coins that I am very excited about. These are 3 coins that I'm personally going to be margin trading. I think that Binance sets and holds a very big opportunity for a lot of potential for gains and profiting inside of this crypto market. I was able to maximize so many profits when it came to margin trading off of Poloniex because I didn't really need to use a lot of leverage. I didn't need to be a really high risk, high reward type of player. I could just take the same sort of trades I normally would on the exchange, and then I could just add a little bit of to my margin account, and I would actually maximize significantly more profit potential. I would risk less money involved with those trades. So we're going to be diving in, showing you guys 3 Bitcoin pairs that have the potential to make you guys a lot of money. First up on the list is going to be Ethereum. Now remember guys, all 3 of these are Bitcoin pairs. You might be wondering, why exactly am I so optimistic about these Bitcoin pairs, or why have the last couple of videos been me talking about these Bitcoin pairs? And my reason for that is the fact that when we have alt season, the Bitcoin pairs are generally going to rally up with the dollar pairs. They're going to parity about the same time. It doesn't really matter which one you trade because you're both going to be making money with either one. Now, you'll hear the opinion where certain people will say, trade the Bitcoin pairs if you're only trying to accumulate more Bitcoin, but you can also do the exact same thing with the dollar pairs because they rally with each other. And so by me trading the Bitcoin pairs, I'm excited about these because when you're trading the Bitcoin pairs, it does make it a little bit easier for you to transact specifically with Satoshi value. And so in the wake of the lowest, cheapest, most depressing times of altcoins, in my opinion, it's a little bit more important to pay attention to those Bitcoin pairs. When the Bitcoin pairs are in that state of depression, it's a little bit easier for me to follow along with the Bitcoin fractals when they're at certain points. Now keep in mind guys, I still trade dollar pairs, I still pay attention and watch dollar pairs every day, but when the Bitcoin pairs are setting up, I do like to pay a lot of attention to those as well. And so with a lot of these being Bitcoin pairs, I'm going to be paying attention to these because I think that we're in a state of very deep depression where we're going to start breaking out of these lows that we're experiencing. And from that, we're going to really set ourselves up to accumulate a lot of Bitcoin. And so I think these Bitcoin pairs are going to set up nicely. Now let's dive right into here and give you guys exact reasons why I'm so excited about this. Now, if you guys were here for the last cycle, which many of you probably weren't, some of you probably were, but this last cycle got very, very impulsive. And I actually made my very first profitable trade somehow, don't ask me. I bought the absolute bottom of Ethereum down here and then made about 80% on its first leg up. Really had a margin trade position opened right here at about $8 right before Ethereum exploded, but I closed it because I'm a noob and didn't know what I was doing. So the biggest reason why I wanted to make this video today talking about Bitcoin pairs is the fact that these market cycles create these expansive market cycles and these fractals that are just so intriguing to me because they oftentimes follow the same pattern. And so it's not super hard for these newer guys getting into trading to see the pattern that's playing out, to see what's happened in times past, and then to be able to apply that to what's happening currently in the present now. And I think that's really cool and will set you guys up for a huge profit potential. So some of you new guys that maybe haven't been trading for a long time, you can watch these videos and I can show you guys how I nitpick patterns and point them out, and then you guys can start to do that on your own. But the cool thing about this was I started making my first profitable trades with Ethereum way back in the early day before our big explosion. Now, the cool thing about what's happening right here is the fact this cycle is almost a spitting image of the last cycle. What happened after we sold through what is this support here by this black line? When we sold through that same support, we had one more leg down, and that took us to capitulation. And so we have sold through that support. We have made one more leg down. Now, keep in mind, guys, it's possible we could make one more lower low that would take us to approximately right here at about 0.0113 Satoshi value for Ethereum to Bitcoin. I would expect that as long as we can trend outside of this resistance, so if we can break up and out of this resistance, that's going to be your best bet for accumulating. And that's actually the plan in which I have for taking margin trades. Now, currently as it stands, We're going to have to see exactly how Ethereum's going to consolidate, because there's a couple scenarios that I'm watching. We could be seeing something like this before we bounce up to resistance and then make one more leg back down here, or we could see something like this. We retrace and then we come back up, hit this resistance, and we can break up into this resistance. We can consolidate down below this and then break out for a second. It doesn't really matter, but what I want to see is consolidation above this resistance line. And once we start consolidating above this, once we make our higher high in price and we're holding on support, that's going to be where I'm going to be leveraging into my positions. That's where I'm going to be taking margin positions. Because if you time the bottom correctly and you wait for the appropriate shift in the trend, you honestly aren't going to be risking a whole lot of money. You don't have to take huge margin positions. You don't need to get over leveraged. And then you can ride out almost the majority of this entire trend that we're going to see, because this thing's going to explode. It's going to be very parabolic, and you have the opportunity to make a significant amount of money just by establishing the appropriate time on the trend. And so by us making our first little leg up here, that's what I'm waiting for. Exactly when that confirmation is going to be is exactly for me is going to be when we break out and hold support above this black line. So that's what I'm going to be watching out for with Ethereum. But I mean, if you guys have the opportunity to buy the retest of that support, I mean, just to the next real resistance level that I see is about 113%. But realistically speaking, guys, I'm not going to be taking any profits out of this margin position until we hit this all-time high mark, or close to. Maybe the second lower high about here at about 384%. But either way, guys, the way that the cycles work, and if we go back and back test, you're going to see what I mean. This was the first cycle. We had our impulse, we had our retrace, first leg up, and after our first leg up, our second leg up broke out of that all-time high mark. We retested support at the previous high of that cycle before going into one more final price discovery wave. And that's the same thing that happened here. Blow off top, we retrace, we go down to new lows, we make our first leg up, and then our second leg up breaks out of that all-time high mark. We retrace onto support of the previous all-time high of that cycle before we go into price discovery once more. So I'm really watching for that same setup to play out. With the Bitcoin pairs, the market cycle fractals are they follow themselves accordingly, which seems like every cycle. And so I think that we have a lot of confidence in saying that they might behave similarly with the next cycle. Could call me crazy, but I think that that's what's going to happen. Now, let's say that we make our first leg up. We retrace here. This is our one wave. Now, our three wave will take us past that all-time high mark if it's following the previous cycles, which it has thus far, before we go into one more final wave back up. Now, I'm not going to try and draw this exactly, but I think we have the potential to hit a 0.3 Bitcoin Ethereum correlation. And so that would be really crazy. For every 0.3 Bitcoin, it equals 1 Ethereum. And so I think we have the opportunity to make a very sizable explosion coming inside of the altcoins. Now, for us to hit 0.3 Bitcoin, that would be roughly a 10x return. Now, to the all-time high of where I would be looking to scale in is about 500%. And so even if you're only running with a very small amount of leverage, you can honestly maximize your profit potential by 1x, 2x. And I think that that's the highest as far as the margin trading goes on Binance. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't really looked into it a whole lot. I just jumped on, saw the margin account, and then I decided, you know what, I might as well throw a little bit of cash down and make some money with this Bitcoin cycle, or the Bitcoin pairs, I should say. So this is what I'm going to do with Ethereum, guys. Good things coming with this chart. Massive amounts of volume coming in at the terminal end of correction is always your go-to to buy these. You guys know the strategy that I'm rocking with, so I don't need to update any further. Okay, guys, next up is XRP. You could not expect me to talk about a Bitcoin pair and then not talk about XRP. I've been hyped about this coin for a long time. Even though the dollar pair has continuously gone down, I'm not really worried about it because the Bitcoin pair has shown strength recently. Now, if we come up here, we're going to see, and I have been showing you guys this, the fact that we had this bullish divergence on the RSI for a long amount of time. Since here, like 3 or 4 successful lower lows with higher highs in price, or at least higher highs at support. The cool thing about what's happening right now is the fact that we are now breaking out of this descending resistance. So Ethereum hasn't quite broken out of that descending resistance, whereas Ripple is. Something that happens after a breakout, this has potential for a bull trap, but with the severity of the RSI momentum showing that there very much is seller exhaustion taking place, I'm much more confident in having a bull bias. Now, what I'm seeing currently is I'm watching for our next couple targets of about here. This is our resistance, similar to what's happening inside of Ethereum. We need to make a higher high, right? And that's really going to set the stage for our big explosive rally up. And so for me, I'm not looking to take margin trading positions until we get a true confirmation. Now, our first confirmation that this is a buy setup was, in my opinion, the RSI, because we started to see the bullish divergence form significantly before we broke out of this descending resistance. So generally speaking, when I'm looking for trade setups, what I look for is the RSI momentum shifting in the opposite direction. And generally speaking, that happens before we see a sizable breakout of descending resistance, horizontal support and resistance, or even whatever else it might be. So what I watched out for was this momentum showing a lot of seller exhaustion. I started buying down here at this bottom. We have lost dollar value, but I have gained Satoshi value, so I'm not really worried about any of that. But with that being said, we're now at our second confirmation where we've broken out of this descending resistance. Keep in mind, guys, we've consolidated here for about 650 days, so almost 2 years inside of this market structure before a breakout. So that's going to produce a very sizable bounce on the upside. This next cycle has the opportunity to make you a lot of money, so just pay attention to that. Now, second confirmation was the break of this descending resistance. Now, our third confirmation, and this is really what I wait for when it comes to taking actual margin positions, because you want more confirmation. There's been too many times in years past when I didn't know what I was doing, and I tried to leverage myself into margin positions. I got stopped out, I got liquidated right before a big explosive rally that I knew was going to happen, all because I got short-term greedy. Now, for me right now, we have a lot of bullish sentiment playing into this market. We have two different price confirmations, and I could easily throw on margin positions right here below resistance. I would probably be in short-term profit as well, but I don't like the risky nature of that because I can wait for price to make a higher high and we can go from there. So really what I'm watching out for, guys, is a rally, and once we break out of this resistance and then maintain that as support, that's going to set us up for the next impulse back up. Now, I don't know exactly how this impulse is going to get or what it's going to look like necessarily. I would assume it looks similar to like this one or the many other ones that we've had. And so for realistically speaking, guys, as of right now, my trading plan is to wait for the confirmation. Once we make a higher high, once we've established that we are now in a bull market, that's what I'm going to be leveraging into my margin positions because we have the opportunity to make a lot of money. If we're able to buy this support and then hold to this resistance, that's 150%. If we hold to the cycle high in which both of these last two cycles hit, that's almost 500%. And if it goes into price discovery, who knows how high that could get. And so this is another one I'm watching out for. This is XRP. Remember, guys, these are all Bitcoin pairs. We've got good volume. We've got momentum swinging in the bull favor. We're breaking out of major descending resistances that have held us for over a 1.5 year period of time. Lots of good things going on. So this is Ripple. Okay, guys, last up on the list is Binance Coin. Now, realistically, I can't talk about margin trading coins on Binance if I'm not talking about Binance itself. Now, the reason I'm so hyped about Binance is almost for the same reasons why I was hyped about Ethereum back in the day. Now the reason I'm hyped about Binance Coin is for the same reasons I wish I would have known more about crypto back in 2016 and 2017 before the big ICO craze and Ethereum exploding. Because if I would have known what I do now, I would have been able to profit immensely off of Ethereum's rally, whereas I didn't really have the full privilege of maximizing that entire trend. But what I'm seeing currently with Binance Coin is a similar fundamental use case. Now, even though Binance Coin and Ethereum are two different projects entirely, Binance Coin has a lot going for it. It is an exchange token. If you hold this, you get trading fees knocked off. So you have incentives to hold this. Not only that, but it's basically pegged to the value of Binance Exchange itself, and Binance is a big front runner in the development of this marketplace. Whether it's their decentralized exchange, whether it's their regular exchange, or now they're opening an exchange for US customers, they are growing their network and they are expanding. And so for that, you can't really go wrong by holding the coin that is pegged to the value of their exchange. And so me looking at Binance Coin is almost the same reason I was so hyped about Ethereum back in the day. I actually think that this one has the potential for a massive bull cycle, something we've already seen up to this point. I mean, we've only ever been trending up, so there's no reason to think that that's not going to continue to happen. And I don't think that with us correcting right now that that's the end of all of what's happened. So let's take a look here currently and see kind of what I was looking at. Now, we have this support level, and this is the support level in which I'm watching for entries for margin positions. Now, the reason why I pick this support zone is because it's honestly the strongest support zone that I think we're going to get. Now, the lowest that I want to see us drop is about to here at about 00125. That's going to be my lowest support zone, but I want to see us hold support about where we're at. I think this is the biggest cluster of support we're going to get. And so if we fell through this, realistically speaking, there's not a whole lot until probably back down in here. So I don't find that as my likely scenario. I don't think BNB is just going to fall off the face of the earth like that. But the reason why I chose this support cluster is because it also coexists nicely with Elliott wave theory. This would have been our 1, this would have been our 3, and this would have been our 5. Now we have very definitive Elliott wave structure. This was our 1, this was our 3, 4-wave retrace was this that we saw here, and then we went to our final 5-wave. And so from our 5-wave, we're selling back down, trying to find that support zone, and this is the support zone that I'm going to be rocking with. Now, when I see this, I want to see prices hold support here, and then I want to see them start to show a lot more bullish action. With bullish action comes good volume, and so when we hit this support zone, I want to see good volume. If there isn't any good volume, it might make me a little bit more hesitant to pull the trigger on margin positions. Now, what I'm seeing here currently is a 1-wave. This is the first little market cycle that we're going to see inside of Binance Coin. The fact that this one has proven itself and held an uptrend the entire time Bitcoin was in a bear market. That to me, guys, is a no-brainer that this one has so much profit potential for the future, and not even profit potential off of margin, but just the fact that you can buy and hold this thing and it's going to do good. I think that Binance Coin has a real opportunity to rally with Bitcoin and really lead that entire altcoin market because of the name of Binance, because of the fundamental use case that it provides. I think that we have the huge opportunity to make a lot of money off of this. And so these are 3 altcoins that I'm watching, guys. Now, with that being said, guys, I'm very excited with the way things are working. I'm excited to be able to trade these coins on margin through Binance. It was actually a way I made a lot of money in the last cycle. Now, with that being said, guys, margin is risky. And so if you're somebody that hasn't been able to trade, doesn't know how to day trade as well, and is just barely finding my channel or just getting into crypto as a whole, margin trading is not where you're going to want to be. It's only for people that have been able to trade. It's people that understand risk to reward and that can minimize their risk, because margin itself is often misconstrued because of the fact people think, oh wow, 1x, 2x, 3, 4, 100x leverage. I can take out a huge position and think about how much I can make if it goes up 5%. People get into this weird paradigm taken over by greed. Now, with margin, you're going to be feeling the emotional psychology of the market by tenfold. And it really just depends how much margin you're running. Because if you're not somebody that knows exactly how to manage your risk to reward, you're going to get eaten up and you're going to blow out accounts just because of the fact you did not know how to trade. So if you're somebody that doesn't know how to trade proficiently, you can't profit consistently inside of the market just day trading right now, do not mess with margin trading, because you're not going to be setting yourself up to profit. You're going to be setting yourself up to fail and blow out accounts. So this is all I had to tell for you guys. These are the 3 coins that I'm watching. We also went ahead and looked at the dominance, both altcoins and Bitcoins. Exciting things happening. It looks as if we're at the terminal end of this correction, whether coins are going to be finding and landing on support. Other coins are going to be breaking out and doing the same thing. There are very exciting things to be had inside of this market. So thank you all so much for tuning in today. I will catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.